Welcome to Pirkei Avos with Rabeinu Yonah. We're on chapter 5, Mishnah 6. Hey Vav. Asara Dvarim Nivru Be'erev Shabbos. 10 things were created Erev Shabbos. This means Erev Shabbos on the 6th day of creation, at the very beginning. Ben Hashmashos, at twilight. Ve'elohein, these are them. Pi Haaretz. So actually, this time, let's read Rabeinu Yonah as we go through the Mishnah. I think it might be easier to do that. So the first thing was the Pi Haaretz, which Rabeinu Yonah says, L'blias Korach va'adaso, the hole in the ground, which swallowed up Korach and his congregation in the desert. We'll be reading that parsha in a few weeks. Upia Be'er, the opening of the Be'er, of the water, Hasela Shehika Moshe, the stone that Moshe hit. Upi Ha'ason, the mouth of the donkey. Shel Bilam, Shenemar Vayiftach Hashem es Pi Ha'ason, when also, a parsha we're reading in a few weeks. When Bilam was going to curse the Jewish people, his donkey stopped and didn't want to go and started talking to him. Hakeshes, the rainbow. Shenemar, it says, Es kashi nasati be'anon, I put a rainbow in the cloud, referring to the rainbow that Hashem put after the flood of Noah, where Hashem said, this is a sign that I want to destroy the world, but I won't. It's interesting that certain movements have taken that sign for their symbol. The Haman, the manna, Shel Midbar, in the desert. The Hamata, Moshe's staff, Shel Moshe, Asher Asavo Esa Osos, the staff which Moshe did the miracles with. The Hashamir, the Shamir worm. What's the Shamir? Says Rabeinu Yonah, Kimin Tola, it's a kind of worm, Aruch, very long worm, Ubo Vana Hamelach Shlomo Esa Mikdash, and King Solomon used this worm to build the Beis HaMikdash. This worm was like a stone-eating worm, so he put the worm on stone, and the stone would break. As it says, and no hammer or axe or any iron tool was heard in the house when it was being built. So King Solomon did not use regular tools when building the Beis HaMikdash, rather he used this Shamir worm. And this Shamir worm was created during the Ben Hashmashos of the 6th day of creation, a sort of miraculous creation. V'haksav v'hamechtav v'haluchos. What's that? Haksav haTorah. Shahai seksuva lifnei Hashem yisala m'sheish shemei bereishis. Ve'esh choral gabe eish levanav. The Torah, that it was written before Hashem, it was black fire on white fire. V'hamechtav. Tzuras ha'osios choras haluchos. The inscription on the luchos, on the tablets of the Ten Commandments, they were very unique, miraculous writing. It was inscribed all the way through, and it was a miracle, because certain letters like mem, if you would cut them out, they shouldn't stand there because there's nothing supporting them. It's just a circle, but they miraculously stood in place. The haluchos, the tablets, batzman themselves. The Yesh Omrim, there are those that say af hamazikim, also demons. Ukvurasa shel Moshe, the burial place of Moshe. The Elo shel Avram Avinu, the ram of Abraham. When Abraham was commanded to sacrifice his son, and the angel told him not to do it, he went and he got a ram. That ram was created from the 6 days of creation. The Yesh Omrim, some say af tzvas b'tzva asuya. Also tongues were made. We'll see what that means. Okay, the Yesh Omrim af mazikin shenemar v'lo yada ish es kvuraso. Says we don't know where Moshe is buried. So if any tour guide tells you this is where Moshe is buried, don't believe him, because we don't know where he's buried. Ve'elu shel Avram Avinu, the ram, Nachaz b'samcha b'karnavu, was caught in the thicket by its horns. Yesh Omrim, some say av tzva b'tzava asuya. Some say also the tongues were made. Elu hamal kachayim shehanafach ochiz behemas hamatachas kishichama ad sheyasa kli. Tongues, these are the pincers that a blacksmith would grab, the hot metal, when he would make a vessel. Yikru tzvas, they're called tongues. V'tani Masechus Psachim, it says in Psachim, the Talmud. Rabbi Yehuda said, Sivsa b'sivsa misavda. Tongues have to be made with other tongues. Sivsa kamaisa man avda, right? Very simple thing. How do you make the first tongues? If you're making tongues, these metal things, you need to have other tongues to make them first. You can't make them by themselves. So Rabbi Yehuda says, it must be that the first tongues, la b'ri b'dei shemayim, must be the first tongues were made from Hashem. Amrullah, the sages said to him, you could, it's not true, you could just make it in a mold. So they seem to disagree with Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabeinu asks a question. Why do we need to count these 10 things? Very interesting. Okay, Hashem made these 10 things from the beginning of creation. Why do we need to count them? Everything that Hashem created, He created it on a condition. That it will change. All of creation, He created on condition that it will change when He needs it to change. Nothing changes in the world that Hashem didn't already plan for Ma'aseh Bereishis from the very beginning. So it's not the pshat that at these certain times Hashem decided that, okay, the earth is going to open up and swallow Korach, but rather Hashem made from the beginning, He knew what was going to happen, and He said, at this time, at this place, I want the earth to swallow Korach. Kishenitlu, Ma'oris B'yom Revi, Gazer Leim Shamdu L'Shua U'Lechizkiyo. For example, when Hashem put the sun and the moon, made them on the 4th day of creation, He decreed that they should stand in their place for Joshua and for Chizkiyo. Hayam, He made a condition with the sea, Shetibaka Lifnei Yisrael, that it should split before the Jewish people, V'chein Kulam, and everything. He says, really, every miracle that happened in the history of the Jewish people ever, that was already planned from the beginning of creation. He says these specific 10 things, these 10 things specifically were made at the end of creation, at the 6th day during twilight. Even though everything else was also, every miracle that was going to happen, like the sea splitting or the sun standing in its place, all of those things also were made before creation, but these things were specifically made at the 6th day of creation during twilight. And with that, we conclude.